There must be hundreds of bands like the Undertones waiting for some sort of break.
Well, yes, I mean, this is obviously part of the problem. I mean, it used to be the case that 3 or 4 years ago, the whole sort of emphasis of the programs I do has shifted, from being sort of college, university orientated, and an average age of listener of about 26, 27, according to BBC's figures. Now it's about 19, the average age of the listeners, and they're not college, they're not students at all. They're just people working or out of work or something. And we used to get a lot of demo tapes, like 4 or 5 years ago, but not nearly as many as we get now, and most of them were dreadful. I mean, really bad, But now we're getting something like, I suppose, 8, 10 demo tapes a day, which is impossible to keep up with, as you can imagine. But a very, very high percentage of these are really good. I mean, we listened to 25 last Friday, for example, sat down in the office, my producer and I, and we booked 2 of the bands straight away, and I got in touch with another 6 of them and said, we really like the tape, and when you do another one, let us have it. So there's an amazing number of bands around all over the place who really ought to be getting more attention. I wish there were more people doing what I do. I'm not saying that what I do is terrific or anything like this, but I wish there were more people who are going out and looking for new bands and exciting bands and trying to give them a bit of a hand.
Having said that, how important do you think it is for the Undertones to adjust to their circumstances now, the next 6 months or so?
I think the next 6 months are critical, because this is again one of the things that you worry about, really, particularly if it's a London-based band who've been working around and doing a few gigs in London and have a vague understanding of the music industry, which is a most unpleasant industry, full of really rather vicious people and people who, obviously it is an exploitation industry, and you get a band from Derry, and they've not been in London before, they've not worked around, and I think Sire Records will be fair with them, and but at the same time, you're feeding quite innocent, nice young people into a very unpleasant machine, and you're quite I get quite worried about what happens to them, because sometimes, obviously a lot of people die, as a result of the record industry.
What's the obviously there's no immediate solution. What's the best thing? Would be a word of advice for any band?
No, I wish I could, I suppose the best word of advice would be not to do it at all, but that would be, that wouldn't be too productive. I don't know, really, just to keep level-headed, but how can you tell? It's easy for me, I just sit there in the middle. I'm like the fellow who stands outside the building site and watches people put up the buildings, I'm not having to get in there and do it at all. So if you're like 18, 19, and suddenly everybody's making a fuss of you and telling you you're enormously important and what a great future you've got, and you're getting stacks of money, relatively stacks of money coming into you, it's bound to turn people's heads, so a lot of them go off the rails, which is sad, but there's nothing you can do to stop that happening. And frankly, it's better for them to have the chance to do that than to end up by, because these days it's either football or rock music is the only way for a lot of people to get anywhere at all.
So it's unfortunate that London has to be the nucleus.
It is, really, yes, and this is one of the good things about all the little labels, Good Vibrations records and things like this, is that at least the first few steps can now be taken outside London, and it's something which we've tried on the programme to encourage actively, is that we get records on small labels, we always listen to them very carefully, and if it's a choice between playing an established band on a big label or a small band on a new label, provided the music is equal quality, we'll usually go for the small band on the small label, because the other people have something going for them already. And I wish it would strengthen the kind of regional view of things. I wish it was possible, like as it is in America, for a band to really take quite a few steps in the direction towards becoming a big success without having to leave their own particular area. And I think nowadays, as I say, you can go further along that road without having to come to London.
Just before we leave it, there is a certain parallel between football and music, especially in England. You'd agree?
I think so, yes. It's difficult for me to say, because obviously football and music are my two sort of the twin obsessions in my life. But they do provide the only opportunity for a lot of just ordinary kids to actually get anywhere, and if they're living boring lives in boring places, they must be very attractive. You know, if somebody had said to me, I mean, I come from a sort of nice, secure, middle-class English background, but if somebody had said to me when I was 15, look, you can play for Liverpool, but you've got to die when you're 30, I'd have said, fine, that'll do me.
Football is for me, yeah.
Yeah.
John Peel, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.